and let us all do we can to build a better future. Not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5 times. Because I never saw anything this dumb before. And, you know, maybe I'm being too hard on this. Maybe I'm being too cynical. It's just, I do have to wonder, progressive Democrats, Congressional Progressive Caucus, you know, all these people that say, oh, we could reform the Democratic Party. Are you even trying anymore? Like, can you come up with new ideas? Now, many people might be writing in the comment section, like, well, what are you talking about, kid? Like, what is so crazy that you think an idea would go into the long, sad history of dumb things to exist? Okay, fine. We're going to do this, and we retweet this out. This is going in the long, sad history of dumb things to exist. Democrats unveil new hip-hop task force to tackle racial inequality. We're an idiocracy. Introducing the hip-hop task force. Woo! To stop racism. Do you even care anymore, Democrats? This is stupid. This is cringeworthy, okay? The hip-hop task force, please don't drag hip-hop into this. Please. All right, corporate media is already destroying it. Hollywood's already destroying hip-hop. And we already know Washington, D.C. has had a long history of going after music, not only hip-hop, but rap, rock and roll. Hell, they went after jazz music, for Christ's sakes, okay? That was going to corrupt the youth. But now, oh, hey, guess there's a hip-hop task force now. Democrats unveil new hip-hop task force to tackle racial inequality. So, hey, a coalition of Democrats are looking to use the power of music to tackle some of the most pressing issues facing Black and brown Americans. Jamal Bowman on Wednesday unveiled a congressional hip-hop and justice task force outside the Capitol. Okay, let's see what it does and how much money are we wasting into this. The task force led by Bowman will use hip-hop's messaging of building a more equitable society to help spearhead initiatives to address economic inequality, affordable housing, and racial justice imperatives. So does that mean, like, you know, you guys are going to, you know, form together a coalition to force a vote for Medicare on the House floor? Does that mean challenging, you know, Democratic leadership? Will the hip-hop task force be the task force necessary to do a force to vote? I hope that's the case. That would be ever so nice. Are you guys going to form a task force to stop the, you know, military industrial complex? Because that also leads to this homelessness crisis that we have here, this inequality crisis that we have here. You know, I was recently on Due Dissidence show where we talked about our crumbling infrastructure and the reason why, you know, all of our cities are falling apart, why we have our trains derailing, why we have contaminated water, why we have all these disasters and embarrassments in our cities, why things are being run down is because we don't have the money to afford them. Will the hip-hop task force finally stop the flow of money going into the military-industrial complex? Will the hip-hop task force address the prison industrial complex or big pharma? In an exclusive with The Hill, Bowman explained that the inspiration behind the task force came from reflecting on how the genre impacted him over the years. Oh, get the fuck. Artists like Eric B. and Rakim, Queen Latifah, Chuck D., Public Enemy inspired the New York lawmaker throughout his life, he said, including during his time as an educator. They were very instrumental in creating a curriculum and blueprint for my life, Bowman told The Hill. So it's sort of like how, you know, Kamala Harris would smoke weed. Ha, ha, ha. I owe a lot of who I am to the lessons that they taught me and through their music. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 if you think Jamal Bowman is an example of the lessons from the lyrics in hip-hop. Type 1 for yes, Kit. He is the guy that's leading the way in Washington, D.C. Type 2, no, he's not. His actions? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? He's only saying that to try and get voters who are still dumb enough to support the Democrats. I wonder how many twos we'll get in the chat. I wonder indeed. Hip-hop, which celebrated its 50th anniversary last August, has been often used as a political tool for Black and brown Americans, and Bowman said he hopes to capitalize on that through the task force, because it's not the first time politicians used a musician to get the voters to turn out to vote. Hip-hop has always been about ending poverty in America. Gee, You're a politician. Why aren't you leading the way for that? And fully funding our public schools. Well, why don't you do that? It's always been about justice reform and police reform. Well, why don't you do that? The lawmaker said. It's always been about affordable housing and dealing with the issues of threats of violence. Remember when Cory Bush and AOC did their little protest on the Capitol because they forgot that that Nancy was going to adjourn Congress, and there was a housing crisis. Still is a housing crisis. Remember that? And they got their quote unquote victory and decided to play music. I remember that. Continuing on, at this moment in particular, when you consider the Black Lives Matter movement, which is now null and void, to the ceasefire movement and the fight that continues for freedom, justice, and equality, now it's time to build political power at a level that's never been done before. Some of that is already happening. In September, artists including Fat Joe, Rick Ross, Busta Rhymes partnered with Power to the Patients, a film public service announcement demanding legislators create a more honest, affordable, equitable health care system. Fat Joe, Rick Ross, Busta Rhymes. Ask Jamal Bowman what he did when he was called out to be part of Forced to Vote in 2021. If not that, reach out to Hard Lens Media. We'll tell you. We'll tell you. Groups like the Black Music Action Coalition, and the Recording Academy, and the Black Music Collective have also joined forces with Bowman and Representative Hank Johnson in it calling for the passage of Restoring Artistic Protection, a bill that would limit the admissibility of an artist's creative or artistic expression against them in court. And every year, Hip Hop on the Hill brings artists and legislators together through the Hip Hop Caucus. The Hip Hop Caucus. Okay. All right. It's been going on in terms of rappers and artists and industry interfacing with elected officials on a consistent basis. And we just want to take that up a notch and make it more consistent, makes us more intentional, and use the power of the genre as a multi-billion-dollar global economy to move lawmakers in terms of helping them understand what's happening in our most marginalized communities, Bowman said. Part of that, he added, means conducting hip-hop on the Hill once a month rather than once a year. We want artists constantly be talking to lawmakers about what they're going through in their communities and what's happening in their communities so lawmakers can understand that hip-hop artists come from the most marginalized and neglected places in our country. Well, gee, Bowman, don't you remember in 2020 when you were first running, at the height of the George Floyd protests, there was a point in which, lawmakers could have done a lot more instead of just taking a knee, which is, now you're part of that fantastic club. Some of the most prominent hip-hop artists have shared what it was like growing up in these places. Eminem, whose full name is Marshall Mathers, grew up in poverty in a trailer park, a story that many Americans relate to, Bowman said, and lawmakers need to hear that reality. But Bowman also points to how legitimizing hip-hop can lead to widespread cultural change. One way, he said, is by addressing misogyny, both in the genre and public discourse. It's all about identity politics, folks. What this is a task force to get more money. The hip hop task force is just another way for people to get money. Just another. It's like a do nothing job, a no show. The Sopranos would be proud. The lawmakers point to the story of Megan Thee Stallion, who faced vitriol and hate after filing assault charges against rapper Tory Lanez after he shot her. She persevered, she fought, she told the truth, and she won, said Bowman. And that's what we need to know about. Uplifting women in hip-hop is a core component to the task force, in part because Black women have been instrumental in the fight for equality and justice, said Bowman. It's more about identity politics. The hip-hop task force, that's all it is. It's just nothing but smoke and mirrors. That's part of the reason why he unveiled the task force on Wednesday, the anniversary of his mother's death. Bowman, who grew up in a single-mother household, said his mother used to listen and enjoy hip-hop with him as he grew up. I'm very lucky because I was raised in the culture at the time when the music was not as misogynistic and violent, he said. It's all about misogyny and violence. To introduce the task force on the day of her passing, he added, is to give honor to her and pay homage to her as a single Black mom in America, and pay homage to all the single Black mothers in America and all the women out there loving their sons and doing the best they can for their children, their families. But the timing of the task force also aligns with Black History Month and election year, something that the New York Democrats said was intentional. Artists have held the establishment accountable for many years during election years. Many artists and people in the community and culture continue to not trust as it relates to what we're doing on the Hill, Bowman explained. The result is less voter turnout, overall less interaction between legislators and the community. The task force can begin to rebuild that trust as they urge voters of color to trust the process and cast their ballots come November. But Bowman, Don't you remember when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black? I remember that. Biden said that. Why would you expect voters to be suckers to go for that again? And we've covered on this show how black voters are not impressed with the Democrats, how black voters are walking away from the Democratic Party. And that goes for a lot of people who were once part of the great Democrat coalition that was really put together in 2016, but has since fractured and fallen apart. Why would anyone trust the process? Especially now. Especially with somebody like Joe Biden, who has been on the wrong side of history, but yet so many Democrats are saying that he's this great progressive, that he's this great leader, when he's really a senile old man. Election season is critical to build authentic relationships in terms of what the needs are, what the challenges are, what the struggles are, what the aspirations are, the congressman said. In addition to Bowman, the task force will be led by Democratic Representatives Hank Johnson, Delia Ramirez, and Andy Carson. No Republicans are part of the task force. So look, I might get in trouble for this, but shout out to Reef Breland. I just have to put this up here. So what? Something like this? A hip-hop task force? It's morphin' time. It's morphin' time, folks. I have to say that this is pretty badass here. All right, Reef, this is a job well done. Reef Breland of Indie News. You know what the rules are. If I'm going to be talking about Indie News, hold on, I gotta do this.
Who are these people?
There it is, the Hip Hop Task Force. All right, hey, who's your favorite Power Ranger? So what can we take away from this? First of all, this is a one big old nothing burger, a waste of time, energy, effort, and so much more. I've never been more disappointed in the Democrats than I am now, as they're using the great honorable name of hip hop. The shame. How dare they? How dare they? How simply dare they? You, the audience, is this going to inspire you to turn out to vote or to trust the Democrats? Hey, let's have democracy in the chat again. Type 3 for yes, Kit. You are an awful man for not believing this hip-hop task force for being authentic. Shame on you. Shame on all of you for making fun of us. Type 4, man, no, it doesn't inspire me. That this is a perfect example of creating something that will just get more money and have people get lazy, give themselves an unnecessary job, and nothing's going to change. If Representative Jamal Bowman was so serious about fighting, especially for, let's say, healthcare, there was a thing called Force to Vote in 2021 in which him and 14 other Democratic lawmakers were reached out to by progressives on social media to ask them to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi so that we can get a vote for Medicare for all on the House floor for a vote. But oh no, that wasn't the case. Nancy was once again made Speaker of the House in 2021, and that's that. Force to vote was never used. And every time he's being called out, or if we call out any kind of Democratic lawmakers, Jamal Bowman's the first to say, oh, you critics are just being racist or helping out the racists or being sexist or misogynistic or being bigoted. This is a nothing burger. The hip hop task force, this is what we've been reduced down to. The hip hop task force. Brilliant job, Democrats. Keep on going for that home run homer. Way to go. This is what's going to get voters to turn out to vote. The hip hop task force. You got your finger on the pulse for the American people. You know, the American people have been demanding more from our lawmakers. And during the 2020 election cycle, so many progressives and Democrats, especially lawmakers, were saying that if we get Biden into office, things are going to change. But Representative Bowman and the Congressional Progressive Caucus and all these progressive heavyweights did nothing to hold Biden accountable. Does it come as a surprise why voters are walking away from Democrats? This will do nothing to inspire people. In fact, in many ways, it's going to cause people to walk away even further from the Democratic Party because you're pandering to people. You're pandering to people. It doesn't work, and it doesn't add up, and you're wasting everybody's time. Hip-hop task force. Dumbest thing. It's going to go in long, sad history, the big old book of dumb things to exist. I told you 2024 is going to be a fun election cycle. Not going to be the most important, but it's going to be fun. It'll be fun and funny, and maybe the most interesting. Maybe. We'll see. Time will tell.